Are you liking it, Josh?
It's super fun. Yeah. The replayability is like very good.
I was worried about that.
There's not like a huge amount of like different places to go, but it feels like every time I go do the same route, it's new. There's different things happening like every time I play.
Okay.
So I played all day yesterday and I haven't beat the story or anything. So I don't think I've gone through all the routes or anything like that either. So yeah, it's fun. They have like a cool like photo editing thing too now, so you can like you unlock different filters and stickers you can put on, and then you can actually post them online. So everybody kind of has like a Pokemon Instagram.
Oh, nice.
And you can post pictures with captions, and then you can send your friends your friend code so they can look through your pictures, and there's like rankings and stuff.
Sweet.
It's pretty cool. Yeah.
I'm guessing by that logic, you probably have Sword or Shield as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah.
I should drop my friend code later in the chat.
Yeah, for sure.
Switch. I'll do that later. But yeah. Definitely. Honestly, if you guys play, I feel bad. I used to play Animal Crossing with Jolie's niece a little bit, and I haven't touched it since like January. But if we ever want to do like an Animal Crossing day, I'd be down for that.
That would be fun. Yeah. We just recently did an Animal Crossing day, so I'm always down for Animal Crossing.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I think I downloaded the photos off of my Switch, but there's a really cute photo of all of us sitting in Becca's basement. But she's like a witch's basement. Like it's a dungeon laboratory where she casts spells, and it's the coolest. I'll drop it. Let's see. Well, if I can find it. I've already started recording, so.
Okay. Actually, give me 1 second.
Because I wasn't sure. I was like, yeah, whatever. Let's do it. I'm good.
We got all that Pokemon talk.
Yeah.
That's our cold open.
Something might come out of it.
Well, I've also been doing a couple upgrades. I'm bringing some new heat into the podcast today. I have a soundboard.
It's my theme song. Awesome. So, I wanted. Someone wants me.
It's this app that's like connected through the microphone. So every time I do it, like whatever sounds I download, whenever I press the button, it actually plays through the microphone as well. So it's also recording on my audio.
Incredible.
Love it.
Yeah. So
what does this thing want me to do? Oh, it wants me to update. It's like my Razor. That's fine. Okay.
Your Motorola Razor? Flip phone?
Don't call me out. That cuts.
That's good. That's good.
Remember the commercial that they had for those where it was like literally them cutting things with it? It's like
I don't.
Oh, it's called Razor.
I don't remember that. I do remember the deep seated like yearning though of wanting a pink one, but like definitely not being able to pass it off at 14 years old. So that's trauma expressed through nostalgia.
It really is unfortunate that like rose gold wasn't a thing when we were of a Razor age.
Everything is rose gold now. They have rose gold cake pans. They have everything is rose gold.
Rose gold toothbrush, rose gold cricket maker.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I bought. Yeah, it's like, yes, I have one. Oh, well.
Say la vie. La vie en rose.
What? I was going to say la vie bohème, but we're not here for rent. We'll start. Should we start with your cameras off, or have we already started? Hello, and welcome to the Full Volume Podcast. I'm just gonna do it. I am your co-host, G.I. Jolie, and as always, I am joined by
Harvey Brent. Mwah.
Yes, and on today's episode, we are covering Assembled, episode 2, and joining us on the podcast is our angry dogs. And can you guys hear that?
No.
I cannot. No.
I got worried for a second you were talking about mine.
Perfect. No, usually, yeah. So good.
Oh,
but also
I heard that.
Oh, okay.
That's fine. Just roll with
I
it.
hope they're okay out there. It was really loud and vicious. It's fine. I'll check later. We're joined by the cast of Here Comes a Spider Cast. Introduce yourself, gentlemen. Starting with, we'll start with Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael. I've been here, 2 or 3 times before, I think. So, yeah, I'm very grateful for you guys having me back because it's always been a good time.
All right. And we also have Joshua Murr-VELL. Hello, Josh.
Hello. Oh my God.
Look at that.
Please,
wow.
everyone.
Live audience for
Oh
Josh.
my God.
Nice.
Jeez.
Wow.
Clap
Thank
you
you.
in.
Thank you.
Wow. I feel like
It's
I
good
should
to be back.
hand you an award. This is your, like, they have the 5-time hosting smoking jacket for SNL, but you're not there yet.
Even like
Not
a
there yet.
patch or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
FVP. Maybe we could do the 4 Club. I don't know.
Love that. But yeah, it's great to be back.
Yeah, it's
Awesome.
been a minute actually
Mhm.
for Mr. Josh. Mike was co-hosting with me last week, but I don't think we've had you on for over a month.
Yeah, it's been a while. I think maybe I was on like the first episode of Falcon,
Mm-hmm.
and then that was it. I think it's been a
Yeah.
little while now. So
Yeah. So everyone's all caught up. Everyone potentially
Yes.
watched Assembled. And let's just clear those cobwebs out before we just like hack at other things that are more interesting.
Mhm.
I do not buy what they're selling. Okay, I bought a little bit of what they're selling. But I always like I don't know about you guys, but I'm a behind the scenes fanatic. Like I love watching a good behind the scenes or how it's made. So I'm totally into Assembled. Like I only want a show where it's just showing us that.
Yeah, I love it. Like as a kid, I think I watched the behind the scenes footage of like the Star Wars prequels more than I actually watched the Star Wars prequels.
I'm with you on that.
I loved them.
Right. And I usually don't care that much about behind the scenes videos, but those Star Wars ones is like a how to on how to make a bad movie. Seriously. We'll talk about that another time though. But anyway.
But no, I love the behind the scenes footage of really anything. It's definitely partially why I got into like doing stuff like this and the behind the scenes stuff. Like I love it. So I'm really enjoying Assembled.
Brent, did you buy what they're giving us? Remember, was it you that said you're not buying the camaraderie? Or did we all say that at one point where we're just like Bucky and the the Winter Soldier and Falcon, we don't know if we think this is a real love.
I actually flip-flop back and forth on that camaraderie aspect. Some episodes I bought it, and some I'm like, oh, this is weak, or oh, this is forced. So did I buy Assembled? I bought it with a gift receipt. You know, well, you and I, we talked about the WandaVision one, and that was fine. I just, again, and I apologize because I feel like I've been super negative for the past like 6 episodes because we're talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and it's not that I don't have good things to say about it. It just, in the realm of the comic properties I find interesting, this one's just in the basement, right at the bottom. So it's fine. It was fine. That's about as much profound answer as I can give you about it. It was fine.
Yeah.
Now, when you say you don't buy it, is it you don't buy like Falcon and Winter Soldier's relationship or the actors' camaraderie?
I buy the actors' camaraderie a little bit more than I buy the relationship between Falcon, now Captain America, and Winter Soldier. There seems to be a little bit more chemistry between Anthony Mackie and Sebastian Stan behind the scenes. I would love to see an OnlyFans collab. Just kidding.
Not kidding.
Not kidding. I'd subscribe for a month. But no, it's just not. I don't know. Again, I don't know if to be honest though, like without getting into a whole respin, retelling of the entire season, it just didn't land for me. And actually, I think, aside from talking about Assembled this week too, I am curious to hear, Jolie, your entire and Josh for that sake, because we haven't had Josh in a while. Just your whole like grasp of the season and what you thought. I think we should eventually touch on that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they tried to wrap up and it was WandaVision didn't have to use Assemble to explain away some of the weird iffiness. We already know, we were already disappointed with how it ended. In, a big fight him out. Disappointing a little, not as disappointing as the majority of all of Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Mhm.
It was exactly what I expected. It was exactly confusing where it should have been confusing in the way that Marvel movies are always. Like, they always kind of leave you guessing slash you don't really know why they make the choices that they do. And then they use this episode of Assemble to like legitimize the choices that they made, which I find kind of they shouldn't have to do that. It was kind of like a turnoff. While I enjoyed watching behind the scenes, because you get to talk to people like the directors, art directors, costume designers, like stunt coordinators, and that kind of thing. He watching even the director direct and watching Sebastian Stan or hearing him say, "Oh, she has this. Her directing technique is to pull emotion out of characters, um, by employing like really, really, really close-ups." It's like, okay, but that's great, but I didn't get that.
Yeah. See, that's the part I'm not buying. That's one of the items in
Yeah,
the
you shouldn't
gift
have to
basket.
justify it. That's like, or
No, go ahead,
Mhm.
Mike.
hmm Well, the thing is I think I said this. I'm probably gonna repeat myself, but I felt like all of the camaraderie was like added in later. It feels like they had the whole script, and then they had another guy come in and go, "Okay, I'm gonna add in all the jokes." And even the scene, you remember the one they used in the trailer where they're sitting across from each other in the therapist room, and they're like doing like the staring contest. Like that was funny, but it just felt like it went like straight, then left turn, and then right back, and it wasn't organic. It was clearly like a script that had jokes put on top of it. And I felt like the whole series was like that. Like, they go into a warehouse and they're checking things out, and then they start their witty banter. And then it would just switch back to being a straight drama. And I felt like it was like that through the whole thing. And that's why I think it was a problem with the writing, not with the actors.
I agree. There's definitely times where the jokes don't really feel like they land. Like they're funny by themselves, but in the context
Mhm.
of everything, they don't always work. Um, I did hear that whole therapist thing was improv. It was all improvised with them like
Okay.
getting like they're like knee to knee and they're having that like discussion, which actually makes sense as to why it probably didn't necessarily fit, right? Like they're supposed to kind of be having this real moment with each other, and the actors know each other in real life and are friends, right? So when they get together and they're like, okay, we kind of have this funny idea for a joke, and they put it in and they start bouncing off each other, it kind of blurs the line between characters and actors. And I think maybe they saw that it was like a really funny, like, uh, you know, moment with like a lot of chemistry, but it didn't fit it didn't fit that like theme that they were going for in that scene. So a lot of the times it does feel like doesn't always fit.
And the thing
Um,
is ad-libbing is hard. And,
mhm.
even like the last 10, 15 years worth of comedies by like, say, Judd Apatow, most of his movies there's a lot of ad-libbing, and I find a lot of problems with those movies where it's like funny, 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 and then falls flat,
Mm.
and then funny, 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 falls flat. And so even the best comedians in the world and the best directors and writers cannot, it's really hard to nail down. And so for this show to try it, I don't know. It's clear that it didn't always work, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, I find with that style of comedy when you do use it, they it's also about the editing as well,
hmm
because you have to really consider how much you're going to leave in, and most of the time they leave in way too much of it, and it's the difference between an actual funny comedic moment and like an inside joke. Like
hmm
how long are you going to go on before this just becomes an inside joke you're letting us in on? Because
Right.
essentially it's between the two actors, they're making each other laugh. It's like it does at some point stop being funny to the audience watching it. And I'm glad that they didn't use too much of that sort of improv chemistry between the two, but they could have found like a really great middle ground between what they had already written and that stuff. I mean, they had a really great chemistry with the sister character.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that was scripted.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of the thing with the entire series for me. I think that for the most part, it's like it works. It's a good show. It's like it's no WandaVision. You know what I mean? It's pretty average when it comes to MCU, and it's what I expect. And then there are moments that shine out to be some of the best things in the MCU at times, like the Isaiah Bradley stuff. I really loved that. The exploration of the real world ramifications if a black man becomes Captain America. Like all of that is very good, and again, at times much better than a lot of the stuff we get at the MCU, but mixed in with this kind of just mediocre like buddy cop show. I don't think that it's able to rise above and be the best of the best when it comes to Marvel movies.
So what's interesting is that from what I recall, and hopefully someone can jump in and maybe set my head straight, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was actually supposed to come out before WandaVision, apparently. Is that true?
Yeah. Yes.
I
think even Black Widow was supposed to come out.
So do we know why? Is it COVID that screwed it up, or?
I believe so.
I believe COVID, yeah, because COVID halted production on both WandaVision and Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but Falcon and the Winter Soldier was filming in Europe, I believe, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it sounds like it was probably a logistical nightmare, you know? So, I mean, I was going to say, I feel like, unfortunately, Falcon and the Winter Soldier also had the disadvantage of being placed after WandaVision. I wonder if we'd be this apathetic towards it if it came before WandaVision.
And a week later too, right?
A week, yeah.
So we're like right off the tails of this like new show that's so different and fresh from honestly any show right now. It was just like such a fresh take on everything that we kind of get right back into the regular same old superhero flick. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing: is when they announced the 10 Star Wars shows and the whatever 4 or 5 Marvel shows, I was just like overwhelmed. Like, oh my god, I'm not gonna watch all these shows. I gotta pick one maybe. And Loki was the one that stood out to me. But then when WandaVision came out, I was like, this is far better than I thought it would be. And like we said last week, Brent, now we're back to like base level, mediocre Marvel. And I'm like, oh my god, I hope the rest are not like this, right? Like WandaVision, it's like, it's good that they started big, but now they can't match it.
Loki, for its sake, at least looks thematically more interesting than Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So I think probably all of us will go into it with a more refreshed attitude, and the fact that it doesn't premiere, I think, for another like 40 days or something. So
yeah, June 11th.
Yeah. So we'll have some time to kind of just like, you set ourselves back to a baseline, you know?
We really have some time to breathe and talk about Drag Race Australia,
which as of 1 hour and 26 minutes ago is now on Crave. So
what's episode 2?
Episode 1.
Oh,
did you watch episode 1 already?
No.
Oh, I was gonna say, I to my knowledge, it came out an hour and a half ago on Crave.
Okay, because I was like, I feel like, am I a time traveler? Are all my messages just kind of blurring together? I thought you said it started last week, and I'm like,
is she Loki? Who are you? No, no. Last week was the finale of season 13, and now Drag Race Australia is this weekend. But it's weird because it airs in Australia, so the time zones are messed up for Canada.
Okay, well, I can't wait.
I'm excited.
So now that we've wrapped up talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
bye.
Honestly, like I just really just to get back to it, there are two things that we've already kind of touched on, which I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it is just more like status quo Marvel stuff. And it's not even like Avengers. If you take out all the movies and you just grab the Avengers ones, it's like it's not even that level. It's right back to the Captain America. If you just grab all the Captain America movies out and then stuck this TV show right at the end of Captain America's movies, it'd be like, oh, cool, more Captain America stuff. And it was so, and then branching off into the second thing that I wanted to talk about, which was the Isaiah Bradley stuff. It's important to talk about because where does this legacy go at this point? It's important to talk about the legacy of Captain America in a country like America. What does that represent, et cetera, et cetera? They could have done, and then in Assembled, they started to talk about how they were trying to say important things about it, but I don't feel like they really I feel like they tiptoed and maybe opened a door, but they didn't like walk through that door fully.
Well, that's the thing is, I mean, whenever Disney/Marvel tries to handle these topics, it's always going to be a little bit of, what do you call that, like playing softball. I do give them props for a couple lines and a couple scenes, like in Black Panther and in some of the Marvel movies. And I like Sam Wilson's speech that he gives to like the senator or whatever he is. Like that was pretty good. I don't know. I guess the question, like I saw, a quote on Twitter, not that I take anything on Twitter seriously, but someone said something like, oh, thank God Falcon Winter Soldier has solved racism. And it's like, okay, I get it. I get what you're saying, but it's not a Falcon and Winter Soldier problem. It's an all entertainment problem. Like, are we not supposed to address these things? Like, wouldn't you rather have Marvel and DC movies acknowledge racism and at least approach dealing with it than just ignore it? You know what I mean? Because at least this show is timely, especially what's been going on in the last year with George Floyd and Breonna Taylor and all that stuff and BLM. At least it's sort of living in the real world, which it's Marvel's movies have always done. So I don't know. I think it gives props for that,
Yeah, and I think at times I was even shocked at how far they took it because again with Disney and Marvel, I really didn't expect them to kind of be so upfront about things. When Falcon and when Sam and Bucky are outside of Isaiah's house and they're having like a little bit of an argument, the cop comes up to them and then like has his hand on his gun and approaches and asks if Sam is bothering Bucky. Yep, right? Like automatically going into this confrontation, assuming that it was the black man starting a fight. So, and then the realization of the cop, who he is, and the only reason he probably stopped is because he was the Falcon. Yeah. Right. So that's why I think this show maybe is a little bit better than a lot of the MCU movies that are like mediocre. Like it's better than First Avenger and a lot of like the earlier ones where it's like the origin story, better than Doctor Strange, but it doesn't hit that expectation of WandaVision of being a brand new refreshing series. Yeah,
they could have really said, but that's the thing is that everything with Disney is so surface level. It's like Hidden Figures and and pretty much anything that they have. Like I remember growing up as a kid and watching Disney properties. Like Remember the Titans was one of my favorite movies. Pretty much anything that had like had underdogs and like people of color being led by a white savior. This didn't really have this had a message, and it seemed like the writers, when they were speaking about it, or whoever edited Assembled, wanted us to know that there was a message, but the message got bogged down with like all kinds of other superhero bullshit.
Yeah.
Like we really need to they know they have to acknowledge that they need to think about what the title of Captain America means, what America is, and Black America. But we also have to deal with the super stuff, like the super soldier garbage.
Yeah. Well, it's like we've covered this. I'm not sure if you guys watched last week's episode, but this show, honestly, was a mess as far as what was the theme, what was the main line of action, who were the characters. Let's introduce Zemo, and then just halfway through, just ditch him for no reason. Let's have John Walker kill someone on screen, murder them, which echoes police brutality, which echoes this, and then at the end of the series, hey man, couple quips, hey man, we're good. Walks away, no consequences. Now he gets a new costume. What? They could have gone so far with that, but it's like they set up all these subplots and just dropped them, eh? And it also feels like I believe, Josh, I thought you said that, or someone said that Marvel had enough content to have a new episode every week for the year. It feels like this show was maybe 8 or more episodes re-edited into 6. That's what it feels like. Like the second last episode felt like it ended halfway through. And then they just had a bunch of scenes of Bucky and what's his name on the boat, talking to the sister, hanging out, listening to music. I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? Did anyone else get that feeling?
Yeah, I had a problem with them reintroducing U.S. Agent and kind of giving him a redemption arc. It's tough because I assume that they're building up to something with like the Thunderbolts or some sort of like evil Avengers group, with U.S. Agent and Quintessa kind of leading that, right? I mean, I think they even say in the making of this that she is supposed to be like the anti-Nick Fury, right? So I'm not sure what direction they're trying to bring that, whether we're supposed to be rooting for them or that whether we know that they're bad guys or not. Like in Suicide Squad, for example, they were all bad guys, but all kind of had like redeeming qualities about them, where this show really like it told me that I shouldn't believe or have sympathy for John at all. And then by the end of it, they kind of just drop that and he's like helping them out by the end. So it's not super clear. I wonder if this series would have been better as a movie, because
that's what I said last week.
Because they wouldn't have had time for all of this extra stuff, and they really would have had to cut out most of it to make way for what's important for the story. And I think maybe that's why a lot of the times it feels like it has some tonal issues.
Yeah, like a better TV show, if they really wanted to do something, would have been to explore Sam's life in New Orleans. I would have loved to see a television show about that, and kind of like, of course they fly off and they have adventures, but like we didn't have to have like a big bad arc the way that we did. Maybe they could have, like, you know how every season of something has one bad guy that they have to defeat. Maybe it could have been U.S. Agent, and it didn't have to be a whole super soldier like written into like a whole super soldier thing. Like that, they could have saved that for like that. To me was like film level. They really wasted the talents of Daniel Bruhl on this show. But they could have like just sort of subtracted all of that stuff, and it could have been him and Sebastian Stan doing his like Winter Soldier redemption journey tour 1998. Like I would have watched a television show that was just about that, and they could have gotten it right, and it could have been like they could have gotten Aaron Sorkin to write it, and it would have been amazing. But they just keep missing the mark when it comes to these kinds of things. It's like you had the opportunity to do an action adventure television show with two really cool characters from the MCU, and you blew it.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like with WandaVision, which, by the way, a lot of comic book fanboys complained about. It's like with WandaVision, they started with the concept first. It's like, wouldn't it be cool if... Now, granted, I don't know how they got to that point, but it's like they came up with the whole concept, and then they figured out the most interesting way to start into it, where you go, the first episode of WandaVision, you're like, what the hell is going on? Now, wouldn't it have been great in this show if they would have figured out a way to do the same thing with this show? I don't know how they could have done it. I'm just saying that it feels like they went, well, we know we got to have Winter Soldier's redemption. We know we got to have a little bit of this. We know we got to have a little bit of that. And it's almost like we just have to get all the characters from point A to point B or Z. But there was no, I don't want to say gimmick, but there was no like theme or style or anything. If they would have said, like Jolie said, if they would have said, okay, let's do Aaron Sorkin, or let's do a political thriller like Winter Soldier, like let's do a 70s political thriller with action, then it would have worked. But instead, like, oh, and we got to bring back the Wakandans, and we got to do this, and we got to do that. It was almost like an agenda, like a checklist of all these things they had to do, instead of just going, let's make a really good movie that just happens to be about Winter Soldier and Falcon. And that's what they should have done, right?
Yeah, sorry, am I cutting anyone off?
No.
No, go.
What I really had imagined was what was going to happen after having seen WandaVision. I don't know if anyone else watched the show The Little Drummer Girl that had Florence Pugh and Sarsgaard. Which brother?
Ooh, Alexander or Bill?
Alexander Sarsgaard.
Okay.
They starred in it, and it was a spy, a thriller, a drama, and that's what I thought this could have been. It's like in the vein of like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
Right.
Just really, really well written, really well just paced. Heartstoppers, like one big moment, sort of like what's that show with David Tennant too, where it's like one crime.
Oh, Grace Point?
Grace
the other
Point.
one. Isn't that what it's called? Grace Point?
Oh, I think that's the American version. But yes,
Oh,
that's
okay,
what that's the show I'm talking about, where it's like one crime kind of sets off a series, the whole series. And the main focus or everything that happens in every episode has to do with solving that crime. So it's like we all know it's like they didn't have a crime to solve.
Right. Good point. There you go.
Yeah, I think that the weakest point for me was the Flag Smashers.
Yeah.
I get what they were trying to do. I get the motivation. Like, it was clear what they were trying to do. I just don't think that it was like
strong.
Yeah, I like the stuff with the U.S. agent because it feels like it goes hand in hand with Sam becoming Captain America, right? Taking the shield away from a black man and giving it to a white man, because that's what America believes Captain America is, right? So that kind of makes sense, and you have to have him at the start working with the government and being a good guy in everybody's eyes, and then turning like he does in the show. Like, that all seems like it would fit with the tone. But the Flag Smashers, there's just so much focus on it for it to just kind of be a background thing. And then, which I think would have been fine if the final confrontation was not with them, but with the U.S. agent. That would have been so much stronger, because then Captain America is now fighting what is exactly what is standing against him being Captain America, right? Where at the end, it's just some bad guys, really, that they're fighting, and he wins and saves the day.
Well,
yeah.
I hope, I mean, I don't know if you guys have been up on the news cycle lately, but they did say right after the finale aired that there will be a Captain America and Winter Soldier film as a follow-up to this.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I'm wondering, because I agree, like the final confrontation didn't really make sense. Like, thematically, it would have made sense for him to overcome U.S. Agent. But now I'm wondering if maybe that is the big conflict of the follow-up film.
Yeah. I think what they should have done is agents should have stepped in at the end, or like after U.S. Agent kills the man. Agents should have stepped in, and in America, they did a cover-up and they backed U.S. Agent. So that way he is still Captain America in everybody's eyes. And then the final confrontation, he has to stop he has to stop U.S. agent from killing this Flag Smashers, and then that's when all of America realizes that this man that they made Captain America is not who he says he is, and he's lying the whole time, and it's
Right.
shining a light on that.
Exactly.
What?
And like not only that, but Lamar, the death of his partner. No one, it's like no one, it was like an afterthought. Oh, he died, and John spoke to his mother at the funeral, and she talked about how this was all Lamar talked about and how excited he was, and then that was it.
That's also kind of thematically appropriate, though, for what they're trying to drive home.
Yeah, it's like a black man who's a sidekick dies, and America doesn't care.
They don't mourn it. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing, really quick about
Mm-hmm.
getting back to WandaVision. Everything that happened in WandaVision tied into the main plot. Everything, right?
Mhm.
But in this show, what was the main plot? Was it the Flag Smashers? Was it Bucky's, redemption or whatever? Was it a Black Captain America? Was it whatever? And it feels like if they would have just focused on one thing and made
Mhm.
everything tie into that, it would have been so much better. But instead, because they didn't know what the main line of action was, that's where they
Yeah.
were able to waste so much time on the boat and doing this and doing that and doing this, and it was just all over the place.
Yeah, it's almost as if they saw on set that Sebastian Stan and Anthony Mackie love each other and are in a domestic partnership, and we're like, let's give them a show.
Yeah.
It's actually funny. I was reading an interview with the director, and she was saying that the ending that we got is not the original ending that they filmed. They were filming the scene where Bucky and Sam are fixing the boat in like the middle of the series after the confrontation with John. And they were like joking and hanging out, and there was a sunset. So she grabbed the camera and filmed them just like hanging out with the sunset, and that's when they realized this is our ending. So real quickly, while they were on that dock, they like threw together a party. So like they actually had a lot of the like background actors just kind of come in and bring some stuff. One guy's like, I know how to play the spoons. Oh, I know how to play the guitar. And they all came together and like had the band that showed up. So like that ending was kind of impromptu because they saw the sunset and their kind of relationship together, and they're like, this is a great ending. So like you're kind of right in the sense that they just were like, yeah, they're buddies, so let's just film this ending.
Yeah. It's like they just fed off of the relationship that these two men have.
Mm-hmm.
Like, which is great. Thank you for letting us know, because the media has run rampant all over their YouTube channels with like just like best friend quizzes between the two of them, and like them reading thirst tweets about each other. Like, I'm here for all of that too. It's more interesting to watch that stuff than anything that happened in this show. They had the two characters, and that was their theme. Unfortunately, they had 50 other things that they wanted to reconcile, and said, let's do all of them.
And here's the other thing: if the template for this show is Lethal Weapon, in Lethal Weapon, the whole idea, and I've only seen it once, but help me out here. Danny Glover, is it Danny Glover? Danny Glover is like the rational one, and Mel Gibson is the crazy one. Well, in this show, what is the contrast? I mean, Winter Soldier, yes, he has this history that he was a cold-blooded killer, assassin, blah, 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 but that arc's done, right? So now he's kind of just, there's not as much of a odd couple vibe, which there should be, to make it interesting.
I didn't mind their relationship. I kind of felt like an odd couple thing going on with them because Sam, their juxtaposition was Sam did not want the mantle. Bucky said, it's your job to take the mantle of Captain America. And Bucky not realizing why Sam couldn't take it, and then Sam not being able to really explain how he felt. And that's why they were always kind of like friends, but not really in the MCU. And then this kind of brought that back because Bucky doesn't realize why he could just give up the shield. So I personally I didn't dislike any of the stuff between the two of them. Like I thought it felt natural. At times, maybe the jokes were written like they didn't belong in the serious tone of some of the scenes, but I didn't dislike any of that stuff.
But did you think their personalities were different enough to warrant this odd couple, which is what they were going for?
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming they were going for that. I mean, they keep saying Lethal Weapon, right? Like that's what everyone thinks.
Right.
I would say they're both fairly underwritten in the Marvel, in the MCU in general, where I was like, I don't know if I could pick out too much of a difference in their personalities. Like,
Right.
what is Sam's personality?
Right.
Mm.
It goes back to that famous Red Letter Media thing where they asked people to define Qui-Gon Jinn versus Obi-Wan Kenobi, and no one could do it because they're so underwritten. And at least if you were to go, okay, this is the funny one, this is the ass, this is the whatever, but they didn't really do that because I've personally always thought Sebastian Stan was really dull, really flat. And what's the other actor's name?
Anthony Mackie.
He's a little bit better, and he's got a little bit more of an edge in this, but I just feel like they're, in fact, if you were to take, now, I don't know, whoever's watching this, I'm very critical of the Marvel movies because I don't think they're as great as everyone else says. I actually think most of the characters in a typical Avengers Marvel movie are pretty flat, with the exception of Paul Rudd as Ant-Man, who is sent from heaven. He's so awesome. I love him. He's like the best part of Avengers Endgame, right? When they're sitting in the restaurant and the kids come up and they want the Hulk's autograph. That is the best scene in the whole movie, okay? I think the Guardians of the Galaxy, and they are standout. Author James Gunn is a genius. All the rest, Hawkeye, are you kidding me? Nothing like the character. Hawkeye in the comic is an awesome character. He's like proto Wolverine, awesome. What's his name? Jeremy Renner. I think he's a terrible actor. I don't like the way they play him at all. Black Widow, whatever. They're all like right here. They're all flatline to me. And I think this show brings that out. It exposes it that there's not enough contrast between the characters to warrant this type of show.
It's almost like they, in the bigger collabs like the Avengers films, they have the strong characters like Robert Downey Jr. Kind of everybody bounces off of him, and it kind of it brings everybody up to his level. When you put two underwritten characters like Bucky and Sam in a show together with no other strong personality to bounce off of, all of a sudden you realize that.
That's a great point, and I gotta agree. Robert Downey Jr. is incredible. Like Iron Man is the linchpin of this whole thing, right?
Yeah.
But if you notice, when they did Avengers with what's his name, Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, now you have a problem because it's almost like they created Doctor Strange to be the replacement for Tony Stark. Arrogant, right? He's always the smartest guy in the room, but he's also funny. But it's like, wait a minute, that's Iron Man. So now you have them on screen and they're arguing with each other, but they haven't figured out where they fit and where they clash. That's almost like the same character, right?
Well, it's a good thing that they put Doctor Strange on a different planet then.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah. So yeah, what is next after this? We said Loki.
I think Loki. Yeah, everything kind of got shuffled around again because Black Widow was supposed to be releasing next week, and then the week after that was going to be deassembled for Black Widow. But Black Widow got pushed, and I think even Loki might have gotten pushed like a week or something like that. So June 11th for Loki, and then I think right after that is What If, maybe Black Widow in between because it has a July release. So
so maybe this is like, so the podcast will turn into a Drag Race podcast unless we do an After Dark and we maybe talk about Buffy.
Oh my God. I was telling Mike, we're going to go on a huge tangent. Last week, I was just preparing to watch for the first time ever Hush. And I had never watched the episode Hush before, and it did not disappoint. Oh,
is this a good time for me to say I've never actually watched?
What?
Yeah, I've never seen it.
I'm with you.
I've seen like clips here and there, but I've never watched Buffy.
I'm with you. I used to like casually watch it when it was syndicated on TV, like man, whatever, blah blah blah. Never like invested in it. COVID, obviously, we're consuming way more media than ever. um, and I just started to put it on at the beginning of 2021, and I get the hype. It's on Amazon Prime. I would give it a shot.
Ooh, okay.
I watch it from front to back, beginning in January of every year since it's been canceled. I didn't watch it last year though. It was just last year was just too depressing to allow me to watch it. So I did my there are lists of the top 10 episodes, so I just did the top 10 list. And Hush
yeah.
is one of them,
Oh
obviously.
man, what an episode. Jesus, Murphy. Apparently it was the only episode ever of Buffy to be nominated for an Emmy Award. Is that true?
It is true.
I-
I think that the musical episode might have been, but like for music awards, not for acting, nothing. Yeah. It wasn't
What a brilliant concept though. Like just
excuse me.
like the concept behind of basically making an entire episode almost like a silent film where like people couldn't talk. Wow. It was such a great, and like the threat behind it and stuff. That was so brilliant. Oh
Yeah, I'm kind of glad that quote cancel culture got Joss Whedon, because I feel like if they had kept him around for these television shows, we might have gotten like so the first episode of every season, if you notice, he does the very first scene is always one long shot, one track, like where they track, and it's like it's what do they call it, Mike?
Well, like a steady cam shot.
Yeah, where it's just like there's no cuts.
okay.
Like that Birdman movie, whatever.
Oh yeah.
One continuous take, yeah.
That's it, a continuous take. I feel like if they kept him on board in the MCU, he would have started doing something like that, or he's also famous for shoehorning in a musical episode or having a character he knows to be good at sing, and it's like I smelled that coming, and I was really fearful of it. When we saw that shawarma scene in the Avengers, I was like, okay, I love Joss Whedon. But I don't know that I could stomach watching like Chris Hemsworth in an all silent episode of something, you know?
Yeah,
I wouldn't have minded that, but whatever. Yeah.
I mean, Chris Hemsworth can do horror. He could do something like that. He was in Cabin in the Woods, and
yes,
he was pretty good in that.
Good.
He was pretty good in that, but yeah, I don't know. It's a wonderful episode of Buffy though. Like my mind was blown. Like I made sure too to like, everything was perfect. I was just a little bit stoned. I had food out. It was dark. Like it was the perfect ambiance to watch that episode, and
just a little bit stoned.
just
Fun
like
fact.
just a scotch. Yeah.
Drew
Yeah, I
Greenberg.
definitely need to start watching then.
Yeah,
because I like just missed the Buffy thing.
On account of
me being a child.
Thanks. I was like, on account of your birth.
It started airing when I was 2, so I missed that.
Does the math.
Well,
97.
97
came out.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not a mathematician. Good thing that we have all kinds of streaming platforms that have it available. You're watching on Prime, right, Brent?
Yeah, that's but it's also apparently it's on Disney Plus now.
Oh.
Buffy's on Disney Plus.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because Fox.
Because Fox.
Okay, so no predictions for next week.
Adding that to my list.
What, Buffy?
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. And don't tell anyone you're watching it because someone will spoil it.
Yeah, I actually did spoil a huge death for myself in season 5 just by, doing wikis and stuff. So do not Wikipedia anything.
Okay.
Don't.
Well, it's a good thing that we're posting this online. Nobody will know.
Yeah.
People will make it their mission to spoil it.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you for joining us for this episode of the Full Volume Podcast. We'll be back. We'll be talking about other stuff. We'll find something to talk about or hate on, we could just watch Invincible.
Oh my god, I watched the first episode. It is wild.
Right? I'm into
Oh my
it.
gosh. Yeah.
I'm on only episode 3.
It's by is it Robert Kirkpatrick? What's his last name?
Well, Robert Kirkman is the comic creator, but
Yeah,
that's
I'm thinking of creator of Walking Dead. The
Yeah.
comic.
Robert Kirkman, yeah.
Why did
But
I
that's
say
actually the
Kirkpatrick?
reason. Even though I did like the Walking Dead TV show, I'm not a fan of his rating. So in the comics, so I'm just not interested in it. I mean, everyone says it's good, and I will give it a chance, but I'm not convinced yet.
She says after having put up with 5 seasons of The Walking Dead.
Oh man, I put up with 8 seasons. I lasted until season 8.
I'm still in it. I can't.
Are you still in it?
Yeah. They I can't stop. Until it ends.
Yeah.
Because I've made it past that bullshit that happened with Jeffrey
Negan?
Dean Morgan, Negan. Yeah, that series. I love the character, but his seasons were terrible. They just became like abstract impressionist work.
He really
went nowhere after a certain character's death. But anyway, I mean, maybe we are here to talk about Walking Dead. I don't know. Do you have a sound effect for that, Josh?
For The Walking Dead? No.
Do you have a zombie coup?
No, I've got air horn. I've got The Price is Right fail.
Oh,
yeah, do that. Do that one.
Appropriate.
Yeah, I like that one. Appropriate.
So yeah, we will find something to talk about. We're here as always to entertain. So if you think that we should be watching something that you're watching, maybe we're missing something because they make they make movies and television into comics every day. Sweet tooth.
Yeah, I was thinking that we should start, because of our love of Drag Race and our love of comic book properties, we should start like a side series under the Full Volume Podcast umbrella where we watch a comic book film and we read it to filth.
Oh, I'm not a good reader though.
I feel like you could make it work.
Okay.
I feel like you're much better than you give yourself credit for.
Okay. The library will remain closed for now.
For now.
Okay, so send us your great mail to fullvolumepod@gmail.com. You can follow us on social media at Comic Book Syndicate and Comic Syndicate on Instagram and Twitter, respectively, #FullVolumePod. You can find this episode and all other episodes on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon Music. Maybe we should cut that. No, we didn't say anything bad about Amazon. We're fine.
Yeah, they're right.
Pretty much anywhere you listen to your favorite podcasts, just type in Full Volume Pod or the Comic Book Syndicate Network, and you can find us there. I know that I'm missing something. Oh, YouTube? You can find all kinds of you can find the video of this podcast on YouTube if you care to see our beautiful faces. Just wrinkled in disgust. At www. The video is also embedded. So at www.comicbooksyndicate.com/podcasts. I'd like to thank these two fine gentlemen for joining us from their podcast. I don't know if you want to talk about it a little bit. You got the floor.
Yeah, we have a podcast called Here Comes the Spider-Cast. We drop episodes every Monday. Again, anywhere you can find podcasts, you'll find it. We are currently going through all of the 80s Spider-Man comics in chronological order. So we started in 1980, and we are all the way down to, I think we're about to record December of 1985. So we're already more than halfway through the 80s. Mm-hmm. So that's been fun and also miserable. So if you want to hear that,
we're also very thorough. Like we leave no stone unturned. Like we've reviewed giveaway comics, crossovers, graphic novels,
games, TV shows,
video game tie-ins, right? Everything. So anything that came out in the 80s, pretty much we're covering.
Oh yeah, and I mean, if the X-Men make an appearance, Brent is usually there.
You know
He'll
what?
be there soon. Yep.
I'll be there soon, but also I did not realize you guys also touch on video games. I was a big player of Maximum Carnage back in the day on the Super Nintendo, so I do have some Spider-Man video game knowledge too, if it ever comes up. I'm just saying.
We should do a whole video game episode. That could be really fun because there's been some great Spider-Man video games. So
Yeah.
There's Maximum Carnage, Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade's Revenge. Iconic. We should do a Twitch live stream. That'd be fun.
Oh, we could totally do that. Just like play through all of them.
I'm down.
I would just have to monitor the chat and add color commentary.
Yeah.
Oh, so yeah, thank you for joining us, gentlemen. As always, I've been your host, Gia Jolie.
I'm sorry. I'm Harry Brent. Oh,
Girl, get into it.
get into it. I'm here, Mama.
And as always, keep it loud.
Keep it at full volume.
Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Oh, I love it. Oh.